Welcome back then, guys and girls, to my next video, which is focusing on the real meaty part of what you're doing with your ankles, and that is working on your ankle mobility. Now, before I get into the thick of how you go and assess your ankle mobility, all I just want to say is, with all the other exercises that I've gone through so far, so laying the foundation, so all of the pen pickups, the balancing, working out what you're doing with your feet, where they're pointing, how far apart your feet are, remember to keep on practicing that, because it's not just a case of once you move on to the next video, you just drop all the other exercises. Still keep on doing them in the background, as again, they'll pay off lots of dividends in the future. So, providing that you have been doing the exercises and you've been doing them every day and you've been finding little improvements and you've been going along quite nicely, the next part, like I said, is all about ankle mobility, and this is really setting the standard for your squat, because if you don't have the correct ankle mobility, it then has knock-on effect all the way up your body, so it affects what your knees do, your hips do, and so on and so forth, which is why I've spent so much time really banging on about what you're doing with your feet and your ankles, as it really does kind of affect everything else about the squat. So the range of movement that we are most concerned about with the squat and the ankle in particular is, the posh word is dorsiflexion, and all this is the movement of bringing your toes back towards you, and that movement is really key because, like I said, it affects then what your knees and hips do and everything else. So if you haven't got adequate dorsiflexion, it really does kind of inhibit what you can do in the squat, and can actually sometimes cause quite a bit of pain and discomfort if you're still trying to squat and you're just lacking that ability. So then, first of all, how you actually go about assessing it? Well, there are a couple of tests, and the first one, I've got a little video to show you, and it's basically what looks like a normal calf stretch really. However, there are a few different things to do. So what you want to do, ideally you have someone watching yourself, but you set up, as you can see here, just pause the video, as if you're almost doing a kind of a calf stretch, to stretch off the back of your calves, so your muscle around here. And what you do is you put your foot right up towards the skirting board, and then you literally, as the video will show, just lean on, if it loads, there we go, lean on in, touch the wall, and literally then move your foot back a couple of centimetres, go back in, and then lean back out, until, we won't see it here, no, until either your ankle starts lifting up. So this is why I try and say to get somebody to watch you, or you could actually film yourself like I've done here and watch the footage back to see where exactly you start either lifting up your heel, or the other kind of way you can cheat this test really is by, when you dip your knee towards the wall, you then kind of move your knee inwards, which kind of gives you a false kind of result for the test, as it means you'll probably be able to move your knee in a little bit more rather than just going in dead straight. So that's kind of the two things you really want to watch out for. But the gold kind of standard for the distance that you want to be coming back from the wall where your foot is about 10 centimetres. So ideally, you either, if you're on your own, you want to put like a little marker down where your big toe finishes, and then you want to kind of measure between that gap. And if you haven't got a tape measure to hand, ideally this only works really if you've got somebody else, is that if they can put their kind of the whole palm of their hand down between the wall and your big toe, that's the sign, the green light, that you've got adequate ankle mobility. But obviously that's providing A, your ankles not lifting up, and B, your knees not dropping in. So have a go at doing that exercise, and in this next slide I've got kind of an example of when my knee is actually dropping in, and you should be able to see, you should be able to see two things. So A, you can see the knees kind of coming inwards, and I'll show you how it looks when you're doing it properly in the next slide. But A, you see the knees kind of coming inwards there, and B, a telltale sign of this is actually that my foot is looking very flat, because obviously if you bring your knee in, that kind of starts collapsing that arch inwards, so it looks like I've got really quite bad flat feet. So obviously there's kind of two little examples that you could look at, especially if you're filming yourself and you're doing this test on your own. Now, so here we have the green light, so we've got the knees going straight towards the wall, and the telltale sign is, like I said in the previous slide, is that there is much more of an arch there. So that's kind of the perfect example of what to do. So if you manage to get to the magic number of 10 centimeters on both ankles, well done. That's really good stuff, and you can go on to the next kind of videos because, well, you can ignore the rest of the ankle stuff because obviously you've got great mobility and flexibility in your ankles and your calves, so you actually don't need to work on that. And again, it may be a reason in the past where you may have been doing some foam rolling because you thought your calves are tight, but actually you've actually got sufficient mobility. But have no fear, if you did do the tests and you may have got 6 centimeters on one ankle or 8 centimeters on the other, and you felt some tightness or some issues and restrictions, in the next videos I'm going to be showing you the different exercises you do depending on how your results kind of fared in the test, and really setting you back on the right path for working on your mobility. So I look forward to seeing you guys in the next couple of videos.